So the first thing that we are going to do is to navigate to the folder where we want to create our project. And I'm going to go to this folder and I'm going to go to the address bar and type cmd. And now here I'm going to create my Flutter project. So Flutter create, and I'm going to call it Dr. Finder. And that command will create my Flutter project. So my Flutter project has been created and here it is. So I'm going to open it with Android Studio, but feel free to use VS Code. So the project has been opened successfully. So let me change here to project, and here is our main.dat file. So the first thing that I like to do is to run this project to ensure that everything is working on as intended. So I'm going to use the emulator. So I'm just going to open my emulator here. But of course, you can run it with your own physical device. And maybe before I run the application, I just wanted to show you the Flutter and that version that I'm using. So I'm going to just go to the CMD here. So I'm using Flutter 3.29.3 and I'm using that 3.7.2. And now let me just run this application real quickly. So I have run the application and everything seems to be working fine. So let us get started now. So I want us first to start with the splash screen. So our splash screen is going to look like this. We are going to have this logo here and we are going to have this text come from this side. So I already did this same splash screen in the blood donation application. So be sure to look at that video, which I'm going to link in the description for a more detailed explanation. But for this video, I'm just going to brush through and I'm going to just go fast so that we can save on time. Okay, so we are going to go to this lib and I'm going to create a new folder, which I'm just going to call features. And inside the features, I'm going to create yet another folder, which I'm going to call intro screens. Inside this new folder, I'm going to create now the splash screen here. And this splash screen is going to be a stateful widget, which I'm going to call splash screen. So since we want to have an animation, we are going to extend this with single ticker provided state mixin. So we have two animations here because the logo is going to animate on its own and the text is going to animate on its own. So again, I did this in my blood donation application. For a more detailed explanation, be sure to look at that. So that is our logo animation. So by offset 01, it means that it's gonna come from up and then it's gonna drop until somewhere in the center. All right. So we are gonna do the same for the text animation, but the text is going to move from left to right. So it's gonna to be -1 to 0. So it's gonna move from left and then it's gonna end at the dead center of the screen, and the animation is just gonna remain the same. And so here we are gonna say controller.forward like that. And then once that is done, we are then now going to navigate to the next screen. And for that, I'm going to create a method inside of this class. I'm going to create it inside of this class. So it's going to be a feature of type void. So it's navigate to the next screen. It's going to be an async method. So here I want us to do something. So remember the screen that I showed you. So I want when the animation is over, we are going to be directed to this screen, which I'm going to call the onboarding screen. But this screen should only be shown once when we install this application for the very first time. That is the only time you are going to be seeing this onboarding screen. So that when you go out of the application and you start it again, you don't have to see this onboarding screen. We just want to see it just once when we install the application for the first time. And to ensure that, we are going to use a package called shared preferences. And therefore, to use shared preferences, you are going to install that package. So you are going to go to pubspec.yaml file, and I'm going to install shared preferences. So to do that, you can just go to pub.dev to get the shared preferences, or you can just go to the terminal and do flutter pub add shared underscore preferences. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to paste it here, and then I'm going to just run pub.get, and that is going to install shared preferences. So I'm going to go back to this first screen, and in here now, I'm going to use this package. So final prefs equals to await shared preferences dot get instance. And then now from here, we are going to direct our user. And for directing the user, I want us to use the GoRouter package, okay? and therefore we are going to install the GoRouter in the pubspec.yaml file. So here we are going to install our GoRouter. And now we are going to use the GoRouter. And now here we are going to add a route, or here we are going to declare a route that the user is going to be directed to. What I need to do is to go to lib, and I'm going to create yet a new folder. And this folder, I'm going to call it routes. And inside these routes, I'm going to now create my routes here. So this, I'm just going to call it routes. And now here, I'm going to now declare my routes. So the first thing that I want to do is that I'm going to create an enum of all the app routes that I want to use in this app. So these are all the app routes that you are going to use, that the splash, onboarding, sign in, main, doctor register, user register, doctor details, account, chat, and conversation. So these are all the app routes that you are going to use. And now I'm going to create a GoRouter object that you are going to declare all these routes, and we are going to provide those routes with the Riverpod package. So the Riverpod is a state management package that you are going to use to provide these routes to the rest of the application. And therefore, I'm just going to install Riverpod package and some other packages that are used together with Riverpod. So again, I'm going to go to pubspec.yaml file. And in here, I'm gonna add Flutter Riverpod. I'm also gonna add Riverpod annotation package, okay? Inside dev dependencies, under these Flutter links, I'm going to add build runner, and I'm also going to add Riverpod generator package. And with those 4 packages added, I'm just going to run pub-get once again. And with that, all the packages have been installed. So let me go back to routes. I'm going to add the Riverpod annotation here. And then now I'm gonna say GoRouter. So here, I'm going to set the initial location as splash. We are going to show debug log diagnostics. We are going to add the routes. So inside these intro screens, I'm going to create a new file, which I'm going to call onboarding. And the onboarding screen is going to be a stateful widget, import material that. And after moving to the splash screen, we are going to go to the onboarding screen. So let me import it here. And inside the features, I'm going to create a new folder, which I'm going to call Authentication. And inside Authentication, I'm going to structure my folder just the way I structured them in the blood donation application. So inside the screens, I'm going to create the sign-in screen here. And the sign-in screen is going to be a consumer stateful widget. Let me import Riverpod, and I'm also going to import material.dat file, like that. So for now, this is going to just return a scaffold. And in the routes, I'm going to import the sign-in screen, like that, just to eliminate those errors. And now I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna go back to the splash screen. I'm just gonna navigate the user to the sign-in screen. But we are gonna come back here and edit this a bit later. So we have a controller that we need to dispose. So the controllers need to be disposed, and we have the controller, which I'm going to dispose it here. So here we are going to return a scaffold, and it has a background color. So the background color that we are going to use a blue color. And that blue color, I want us to define it because we are going to use it in many places in the app. And just instead of declaring it here, I want us to create yet another folder where we are going to have our styles, okay? So I'm going to go to lib and I'm going to add yet another folder, which I'm gonna call util. And inside these utils, I'm going to create a file, which I'm gonna call app styles. And again, inside the utils, I want us to create yet another file, which I'm gonna call size config. So this is going to be our size config, okay? So we get the screen height, the screen width, okay? We have this method init, okay, which gets the screen width using the media query. So media query of context.size.width, and you also get the screen height with media query of context.size.height. And then you have these two methods, get proportionate height, okay, which is going to take a double input height, and then we are gonna return that height divided by 812 and then multiplying it by the screen height that we get here, okay? And we do the same for the screen width. Nice. So let me go back to the app styles. So this is the app styles. We're defining the different styles that we are going to use in the app. That is the heading, the title, and the normal text style. Okay, and here at the bottom, we have this main color. So this is the blue color that I was talking about earlier. And since we are going to use it in multiple locations, it's better that we define it here. So we are going to just be saying that app styles dot main color to fetch that color automatically instead of typing it out every single time. So if I can go back to the splash screen, so the background here is going to be app styles dot main color to get that blue color, okay? And now we are going to create our body. For the purpose of saving time, I'm just gonna do it quickly here, and then I'm gonna see you after I'm done. So here I've defined the body, which is a center widget, and is going to have a column. And this column is going to show the slide animation for the logo, okay, and also for the text, okay. And as you can see, the text and for the text, as you can see, we apply the text animation, and for the image here, we apply the logo animation, okay. And for the text here, again, you can see we use our app styles to give the title text style, okay, and the other text here we use the normal text style. Nice. So I'm gonna go to assets, and then we are gonna add this logo. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna add a new folder here, which I'm gonna call assets. Inside it, I'm going to create a new folder. This one I'm gonna call images, and I'm gonna create yet another one, which I'm gonna call font. Okay, so in images, I'm going to just copy an image. So I'm going to copy that image, this doc logo image. So this is the logo that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to copy it in that folder. And I want us to paste another image, which we are not gonna use right now, but we are gonna use it in the sign-in screen, and that is the placeholder image. And I'm gonna paste it here. And this is the placeholder image, and we are gonna use it in the sign-in screen. Okay, so let me close that. So this line here is gonna get that image, and to ensure that everything works, we are gonna go to pubspec.yaml file, and inside here, we are going to edit this part. So I'm just going to uncomment this, and I'm gonna change here to assets/images/. So this is going to provide all the images inside of this asset folder. Okay. So another thing, as you can remember, inside these app styles, we are using this font family called Madimi1. So we want to get that font. So to get that font, you can go to your browser and you can go to fonts.google.com, and here you can search that font, Madimi1. Okay. So this is the font that I want to use. All right. And now you can click on this get font, and then you can download it. You can download the font here, okay? And so once you download it here, it is going to be saved, of course, in your computer. And inside there, you are going to see the Madimi1 dash regular, and you are going to copy it, and then you are going to paste it here in the fonts. So it has that .ttf extension at the end. So this is the font that you are going to use, Madimi1 dash regular.ttf, okay? So once you have done that, we are going to go back to pubspec.yaml file. We are going to uncomment them, okay? And the family is Madimi1. We're just going to call it Madimi1 like that. We are going to change here to assets/font/ and then you type this name here, this name of the font, like that. So with that for images and the font, I'm going to run pub.get to ensure that we get all the latest dependencies. So here I remember we did not use this variable here. So I want us to show the user the onboarding screen, but if they have already seen it, I want them to be directed to the sign-in screen. And here I forgot to add an extra curly brace here. Okay, like that. And now we can go to the onboarding screen. In the onboarding screen is where we are going to design this screen here. And the onboarding screen is a stateful widget, of course. And then we want to create a method that is going to keep track of the page that we are in and update the data accordingly. So but as you can remember, at the top here, we have this skip button at the top here. As you can see, we have it here. And when we click on that skip, we want to go to the last page, okay? And we are going to define a method for that. And what's going to happen here is that we are just going to call another method, which I'm going to call complete onboarding. And now we need to define this method complete onboarding. So I'm going to come out here, and it's going to be a future of type void, yeah, like that. And here we want to access the shared preferences once again. We want now to change the has seen onboarding variable to true so that we don't see it again, okay? And then here I want us to navigate to the sign-in, okay? So the auto-completion here just worked just fine for us. And let me import this from GoRouter. So another thing, since we are using a controller here, we can override the dispose method, and then we are going to dispose our controller here. So page controller dot dispose. So this method skip, we are going to call it inside the build method. When we tap on that skip text, okay, we return a scaffold, and in the body of that scaffold, we are going to return a stack. And a stack is basically a widget that allows you to place other widgets on top of other widgets, okay. So here we return our page view builder, and we set our controller, and we set our item counts, which is our list dot length to get the length of that particular list, okay. And here on page changed of this page view builder, we pass our method here, our method on page changed here, okay. And of course, at the top, we display the text skip. And when we tap on that, as you can see, we call this on tap method, and we want to go to the very last page. And remember, since we are inside a stack, we can be able to use this positioned widget to place it wherever we want it on the page. And remember, at the bottom, we have those little buttons here. They are not real buttons, they are just containers that indicate the page that we are in, okay? And we also change the sizes depending on whether we are in that particular page or not. Also, if we are in the last page, that is what happens here. If we are in the last page, we create the elevated button, okay, which has the blue color, okay, and it's going to have a text of login to the application. I want us to go to the main screen, and I want to change everything here in the main screen. So the first thing I'm going to change here is that I'm going to call it Dr. Finder app, like that. We are going to remove this thing that is appearing here, and I'm set it to false. And since you are using GoRouter to navigate, so I'm going to change this from material app to material app.router, okay. And inside here, I'm going to add now the router config property, and it's going to be ref.watch, and then you are going to watch the GoRouter provider. And for that, I'm going to change this from a stateless widget to a consumer widget. And this is possible because we are using Flutter Riverpod. So I'm going to import Flutter Riverpod. And now since you have changed this to consumer widget, so widget ref. So now we can use this ref to watch the GoRouter provider. And for that, let me go to the routes again. I want us to create a provider for this. So for that, I'm going to add a part.g.dat like that. And since we imported if I open the pubspec.yaml file, since we have this Riverpod generator and we have this build runner, we are going to now use those to create our provider automatically and also to solve this error here. So I'm just going to go to the terminal here. I'm going to run this command, that run build runner build delete conflicting outputs. So I'm going to run this. And with that, now you can see we have this routes.g.dat, which has created us a provider, the GoRouter provider, to provide the routes for the rest of the application. So I'm going to go back to main, and now here I can say GoRouter provider like that. We can now remove this home. We no longer need it. As you can see, it's no longer a property here. Now we are going to edit this a little bit. And now, since we are using Riverpod and we are incorporated it here, we need to go to the root of the application, which is the run app here. And we are going to wrap my app with a widget. And the widget which is required here is the provider scope, like that. Now with that, and since we don't have any other errors, we can try to run the application and see the progress that we have for now. And here I see, here I did not change this to onboarding, sorry. Like that. Yeah. So let me run that again. I get yet another error. It says text animation has not been initialized. Oh, I made also another mistake here. So I did 2 logo animations here. So this one it was supposed to be a text animation like that. Sorry once again for those stupid mistakes there. So I realized where the issue was. So first of all, in the splash screen, ensure that you give the background color to main color, so that this text here, giving it to text style of title, this, as you can remember, it is giving them a white color. So if you don't have this background, you're not gonna see your text. So with that, you can try to uninstall this application and install it again and see if everything will work as expected. Okay, so again, with that, we are done with the intro screens. We can just close that folder like that. And now we want to work on the sign-in screen.